All right, what's up, guys? We are back with another podcast episode, and this week we're going to be talking about the bread and butter nerdy tourney that we were just at. We'll get to that in just a minute, but otherwise just have a few small quick updates and then a bunch of questions and answers from Instagram. So let's get right into it. All right, first thing, I'll be gone for a bit, so just got back from the nerdy tourney, and then next week I leave for China. So it'll be me, Braden from Pickleball Effect, Aaron from Pickleball Effect, Brian from Building Pickleball, and David from Tickle My Pickleball. John from John Q Pickleball was going to come as well, but foot surgery.
Rip John.
You did it. You did it to John.
It's kind of my fault. It's kind of my fault from that host versus co-host video. If you guys watched it, there's a point where I'm playing John and Braden, and I hit a drop shot, and John ran to go get it. And I guess when he abruptly stopped, he had started a pretty bad injury in his foot and now has developed into having to get surgery. And what was it, like a minor stress fracture or something?
Well, I think the thought was there was possibly a stress fracture from before that. Then your drop probably hurt it even more. And then when he went back home, he planted wrong, and then it either snapped, like a tendon tore or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but basically it was like a series of things. So it was probably already weak before your thing. That hurt it more.
Definitely didn't help.
Yeah, exactly. so Isaac put John in the hospital.
Yeah, that's a video title right there.
Yeah, seriously. Isaac puts John Q in the hospital.
Oh,
so,
man.
Yeah, John Q was going to go. Bummed to not have him there. I think it would have been... That's like... Of all the people going, that's like John's dream trip.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, it'll be cool for all of us, but for John, it would be the most cool.
It's the most fitting for John, for sure.
Yeah.
So sad he's not going to be there.
Bummed he's not going, but we'll be there for about a week. I leave coming up soon, so looking forward to that trip. I think it'll be pretty cool to see the factory, and we're touring 6-0's factory, so I think it'll be kind of cool just to see what's been going on. They haven't really released anything in quite a while at this point. So
yeah,
definitely very curious to see and learn more about that. I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of most things at this point, but I imagine there's a couple small things here and there that'll just be good to like clarify, like, oh, this is how it, whatever. But
seeing things actually in person, holding it, touching it,
yep,
getting to mess around with it. And then also you're going to get to walk around, see some cities, play some pickleball out in China, report back, let us know how it is over there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to play. We're going to go over to Hong Kong and play some pickleball there after we're done with the factory. So very excited to see what the style of pickleball is like out there. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, next thing up on the list. This has probably been covered quite a bit at this point, but it just barely missed our news cycle last week for the podcast. But QD gets suspended for playing an unsanctioned event in Vietnam.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy. I saw this on Instagram, and I saw the fine number, and I was like, dang, this is like we're talking MLB, NBA, NFL level fines over here. So
yeah, he got fined $50,000 for playing this event, and then also got suspended from one PPA event and then 4 matches.
Which was going to be 6.
Yeah.
It was going to be a whole MLP event, and then it got talked down to only 4.
Yep. So thought this is pretty interesting. So I've seen a lot of reactions to this, and I feel like I see all the sides in this argument. So on one hand, like one of the arguments is like, dude, he's helping grow pickleball in like a booming market. Just let him play the event is fine. Like what are you guys doing? Like PPA, stop controlling your players. And then the other side of the argument, if you're PPA, which I think is also valid, is like all these players know what's in their contract. If they want to go play an event like this, they're supposed to ask permission. This has been a thing forever. That's why you don't see any of the pros at the US Open, besides Anna Lee, because she has something in her contract to allow her to do that. That's why you don't see them playing APP events, except for people who have weird carve-outs in their contracts. The vast majority of the PPA players can't. So when you signed that contract, they knew what they signed. Mm-hmm. They knew they had to ask for it. So on that side of it, I go, you know what you signed. Don't go breaking your contract. Kind of like when the whole Selkirk thing happened.
Or at least talk to them. We know that players can talk to them and ask for exceptions to play certain events and do this stuff. So,
one, what I'm really curious about now is, this is not the first event he's played over there. He's played, in the last year, quite a few events over there. So I'm very curious if he had asked for permission for those events prior, if he never asked for it and then got multiple warnings, and then finally UPA was like, okay, you've done this enough times, we've given you enough warnings, we're going to fine you.
I definitely think it has to have been, he's been talked to multiple times, whether he did or didn't ask for permission to do them, but they've definitely talked to him about it.
Yeah, because I can't imagine that it was like, oh, you know what, we finally noticed that you're playing some over there, let's just fine you $50,000.
Yeah, it got big enough and he's been seen enough over there that it was bound to happen.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'd be very curious, with these events over there, how many, if he asked, they would say yes or no to. I'm sure there's a good number they would say yes to, but, one of the main arguments I think I've seen in favor of PPA, which makes sense, is all these players are signed to this to basically make those events good. They show up, you have the best players in the world. If he gets injured and he's out, let's just say for 6 months, well, that sucks for you to have paid all that money to have him as a signed player. He's injured for 6 months because he played an event that wasn't yours, and now you don't have him. So yeah. I think all sides are valid. However, I think the side with the contract is probably a little bit more valid because you willingly signed it.
That's kind of where I'm at. I think there's more reasons for him not to have played than there are for him to have played and, trying to grow the sport and do all this stuff. Look, I'm very hard on the fact of you signed a contract, you know what you signed, you got to stick to it whether you like it or not. Yeah. And then also, same thing, they pay a lot of money for you to play their events. You break that, you get injured, dude, you messed up.
But yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see where it kind of goes from here. I think it's it makes sense as much as it is, feels probably counterintuitive against like what pickleball is. Like, hey, just let them go grow the sport over there. It's like, you have to pick and choose what you want. Do you want all the money for the contract, or do you want to go and help grow pickleball over there? And, in the case of him, I'm sure he made plenty of money playing that event to make up this fine. So I'm sure money's not even the issue at that point.
Honestly, with how much money he's making over there and how big he is, I wouldn't be surprised if he, at some point ended his contract with PPA and just moved to Vietnam and started doing things over there. With how fast it's growing over there and how much money he's making doing events and things over there, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it keeps growing. I mean, all I keep hearing is about how much is just booming over there. So anyways, that's the QD suspension. And then just have a few quick paddle updates or announcements that happened. So back from the graveyard, who has not done anything for 2.5 years maybe, Onix Pickleball. Nothing. They've done nothing. And maybe this one of these paddles. So I saw these initially and was like, whatever. Who cares? It's whatever. It's not a big deal. But there's one paddle that just caught my attention for one sole reason. So they have the Hype X and the Hype X Pro. The Hype X is $89, and then the Hype X Pro is $120. And the Hype X Pro just looks to be a raw carbon fiber thermoformed paddle. So slightly more budget thermoformed paddle. We've seen cheaper, but it's on the cheaper side.
Yep.
But the Hype X at $90, I was like, is this finally going to be the Z5 killer? We finally going to get rid of that thing? They're at the same price point. We going to get rid of that piece of garbage paddle finally? I doubt it, but I would hope.
Dude, I still can't believe anyone actually buys that thing. How that
crazy.
Thing is still around shocks me. And the fact that how is Onix still around also shocks me. Not once in the last 2.5 to 3 years have I seen an actual person in the wild playing with an Onix paddle.
The only one I've seen is a Z5.
Lucy and Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, Z5 is the only one. But any other Onix paddles, like the one that Lucy and Matt are using, no one else. I've never seen anyone else using an Onix paddle. How are they making money?
I mean, I'm sure that Z5 still crushes it.
Oh,
I imagine
I'm sure.
Amazon and big box retailers, I'm sure that's carrying the pickleball division, and it's not the high-end paddles, but still, it's just crazy to me. I mean, I feel like if I went and looked at a shelf at a retailer, there's got to be other cheaper paddles far better than the Z5.
We just visited the Selkirk factory and their headquarters. If we went and did the same thing with Onix and went to their distribution center, there'd just be dust everywhere on the shelves. Nothing's moving. No Duras are being sold. No Onix paddles outside of the Z5 for some reason. It's so
I would be very curious to see the drop in Dura sales once the Vulcan, just...
It had to have just been a sharp
I'm
drop.
sure someone's still buying them, but it can't be many people. I
don't
know
No one
why
in Minnesota. No one in
Yeah.
Minnesota uses Duras.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy, especially now. Could you imagine playing a tournament with the Dura with paddles we have today.
Oh, it'd be crazy.
Hitting it with a Ripple or a Pro 4.
Yeah, it would be absolutely insane.
It would be horrible.
Yeah, you're just smacking a rock at each other at that point.
Oh, gosh.
So yeah, that's all I've got on those paddles. The Hype X looks to, I think I already said this, but looks to just be a spray-on grip paddle.
Nothing special.
Nothing crazy, but just thought it was, I saw the price and went, ooh, I wonder if that is supposed to be a Z5 replacement or if the Z5 will live on. All right, the other paddles, I've talked about some of these already, but since it's coming up, thought I'd mention it again. So there's 3 paddle launches coming out June 10th. We've got the Diadem Blue Cores, because that release date got pushed back, the Holbrook Arma, and then the Franklin C45 in the Dynasty and Tempo shapes, which is the elongated and the wide body, as well as the 16 millimeter thickness, are all coming out June 10th. So if you're interested in any of those paddles, those are coming up very quickly. All right, let's get to the meat and potatoes. That's kind of all we had for the news and updates. Let's talk about the Nerdy Tourney.
Nerdy Tourney.
So, okay, for those of you who don't know what this is or you didn't hear much about this, basically Bread and Butter hosted this content creator tournament. It was basically anyone who's ever reviewed a paddle, for the most part, ended up being at this thing.
It was a lot of people.
I think we had almost 30 content
Like
creators.
26, I think.
Yeah, it was quite a few.
Yeah.
Last minute, a few had to drop out. John obviously got injured. Jacob from All Drive No Drop got sick the day before, so couldn't make it. But basically, it was a content creator tournament, and you didn't get to play with just whoever you wanted. You got drawn randomly. So they took 2 pools. They found whatever the middle point was between all the dupers and then separated it into a low duper pool and then a high duper pool. And then when they drew the names, they would draw one from the high duper and one from the low duper.
And that was the team.
And put them together. So you could have a lot of interesting matchups. You could have teams that were offset heavily, like you and Sleeves. I believe Sleeves was the lowest duper there, and you were maybe the second highest.
I think second highest.
So you could have huge disparity, or you could have a team like me and Rafa from Pickleball Tech Dude who were closer to being even. Mine 4-5, and I think his was like a 4-1. So there was like an interesting level of balance that you could have. And we'll get to, I think, which way actually worked better for this here soon. But so that's how it was drawn. Games were to 15. And then there was a very funny format that they did for this. It was actually Justin's idea. Such a great idea, and I feel like it was very on brand for this type of event. So it was essentially a double elimination bracket. You were guaranteed at least 2 games. So there was a winner's bracket to get to the true final. And then if you lost your first one, you went into what was called the toilet bowl bracket. And basically, every time you lost, you progressed through the toilet bowl bracket. And once you got to the final of the toilet bowl bracket, which was basically the biggest losers, whoever lost that one got the toilet bowl trophy, which was a gold toilet bowl trophy, basically to determine who the biggest loser was and who the biggest winner was.
Yep.
So I thought that was absolutely hilarious, very funny. And at the end we'll get to, who the winners and losers were.
Such a great idea. It was executed so well. It was so entertaining. Yeah, it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, it was so much fun. And, just like as an event, I think it was run really well. Like one of the things I thought was really cool, and I'm really excited to see, is when we got there, everyone got these like little disposable film cameras. So everyone was just running around taking a bunch of pictures with these cameras, and then they're going to get the film developed and, post the pictures or whatever. But I think that'll be really cool.
I'm very excited to see all the pictures. I mean, there's already great content and videos and photos shot with obviously all of our actual cameras, but those I'm very excited for.
Yeah,
this overall, just in general, this event was managed and ran very well. It was executed great. Like very, very few complaints for the whole trip. And Doug, obviously, he did a lot, but his daughter Aurora, who works for him, like kind of facilitated, managed everyone, was setting up email, like doing everything. So huge applause to her because she did a great job with this.
Yeah, they killed it. I mean, I feel like this whole thing was kind of, I say this a lot of times when I come back from different pickleball trips, but again, this is a good reminder of, it took all the things of what people love about pickleball, which was, I think it was really good that instead of like, oh, you could just pair up with your co-host or whatever, like me and you obviously would have been fun to play. It would have been a really competitive team, but I think it was more fun to be paired with people, one, you don't normally get to play with because we all live in different states. 2, everyone was bantering because everyone, is friends. So it's like half the time people are just talking crap, and it's very funny, like good food, people are making content. Like, it just reminded me of all the things people like about pickleball.
It's very much so like, this is less, obviously people want to win, but less like be serious and competitive and goof around and have fun.
Yeah.
Like, it was just a fun time. We're all having, like, obviously everyone wants to win. No one wants to lose and get the toilet bowl.
Yeah, of course. No one wants to be the biggest loser.
Yeah, no one wants that. So we're obviously all fighting to stay away from it. But at the same time, we're still all laughing. We're making jokes on the sideline. And it was just a good reminder of, like, this is how fun pickleball can be.
Yeah.
So, that was
for sure.
good.
So we're just going to talk about some random stories because I think there was a lot of really good ones.
Yeah.
So first one, very first match of the tournament, it's Aaron and Dustin from Pickleball Medicine versus right side Will, who, if you guys don't know, is a extremely good player. I would imagine his DUPR right now is bad because he doesn't really play tournaments anymore.
He said he's only ever played 2 tournaments.
And they were qualifiers, right?
And one of them was like a 4-0 tournament or something, and then the other one was like a qualifier.
Sure.
And after talking with him, his actual rating, what we've concluded, and his play is around a 5.6 or 5.7.
Yeah.
He's a very, very good player.
Yeah, he's extremely good. So it was him and Justin from Pickleball Pursuit, and like halfway through the game, Will just hits this great ATP. And I actually have it on video. I might even have you clip it and like show it in this. But Dustin immediately, confidently calls this ball out. He's like, out.
Keep in mind, I'm sitting on the sideline, like literally where this ball is bouncing. Like, I'm looking directly at it.
Yeah.
And he immediately, calls it out. And then Aaron was like, kind of giving a weird side eye. And I look at Dustin, was like, oh, buddy. Like, that was way in. And he was just like, no. I'm just walking back to the baseline. And he just like kind of ignored it. And I was like, he's actually going to take it? I was shocked.
The ball was so far. It was like a foot inside the line.
Oh, at least.
Yeah, it was very inside the line. It was so funny.
Hilarious.
I was so glad I was filming when that happened. I thought it was pretty great.
Yeah.
So that was funny. And then we're just going to kind of skip around. I think we'll tell stories about different people instead of like going chronologically. But we did on the last day play a game against Dustin and his co-host, Brent. And it's very funny because I've heard on their podcast before just like talking about different things and, they'll kind of banter about who's better or whatever. And Dustin always makes it sound like he's like right up there with Brent. Like he's like, I can beat Brent. After meeting that, I'm sorry, Dustin, but Brent's got you beat as bad as Isaac's got me beat.
0% chance I see Dustin beating Brent. Like, no shot.
If you're beating Brent might have been being nice that day. Brent is a very good player.
Was he playing left-handed?
Yeah. and Dustin's not bad, but Brent's legit.
Brent's a great player. Brent is someone that like I could see myself partnering with in a qualifier. Like, he's just up there. We're probably the same skill level. If not, he's better at, I think we're probably both better than each other at different things. He's a very consistent, great player, got good drives, good hands. He says he likes the right side. I think I'm a bit more aggressive and cover a little bit more court. But yeah, Brent's a very good player.
Yeah, so on the last day we played, we didn't film it. It was just for fun, but just kind of like, we should have, but everyone was so tired. It was just kind of like a podcast versus podcast. And we absolutely destroyed them.
Smoked them.
Absolutely smoked them. 11-9.
You know what the score was before that? We were down 9-6.
It might have been even worse. I thought it was like 4-8.
Oh, was it?
It was. I just know
we were down a ton,
yeah.
And then once they got to 9, we shot our way back and went straight to 11.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a lot of fun playing them. It was fun just because I hadn't met them in person. It was fun to get to know them. But,
I told them
both very good players.
Before the nerdy tourney, they were discussing it, and everyone was kind of doing their own little trash talk on their own podcasts. And Dustin goes, "Here's the thing, Brent. Chris's know me, and Isaac's know you." And so he's like, "There's no shot they beat us." And so after we beat them, I was like, "You best know I'm clipping that and putting that in some video, all right?"
Yeah, it was pretty hilarious.
So they're great people, fun to banter with, great attitude. Like, their personalities are great. They're good people.
Yeah, for sure. And then, you know what? I'm just gonna say it now. All of you out there, if you aren't already, you better put some respect on Farmer Lanky's name. That dude showed up and bawled. He was telling us, he's like, yeah, people make fun of me in the comments all the time. They're like, this guy, there's no way this guy's a good player. His form might not be the prettiest in the world, but Farmer's legit.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Farmer's a lefty. He has a absolutely disgusting tomahawk. Like, dude gets everything back. He
from below the net, above the net, doesn't matter. Like exactly what you said. It's one of those things where like it doesn't look the prettiest, but it just works and he wins games. So.
Yeah, he's legit. Him and Brent, so they were a team for the tournament, and they were a big tough team to beat.
I'm shocked they didn't do better. I mean,
yeah,
they were one of the favorites to win.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they ended up knocking out me and Rafa, and I think we lost 9-15, 8-15 to them.
I think it was 9.
And I think, I should have changed up my strategy a little bit. My original thought was, I'll just drive it at Farmer's backhand. And then, like, way too late in the game, I realized, wait a minute, this is like this dude's strongest shot. Why am I hitting
exactly where
this?
he wants you to hit it.
Yeah, so I made a mistake there. But yeah, Farmer's legit. He might be on the farm a lot, but he's got that farmer strength, guys. Farmer's really good.
Yeah.
He was pretty great. And then my first matchup that we had was Will Chang and John from Speak Pickleball. And I was like, all right, this is my time. We got to show this guy who the real host of this podcast is. Will likes to think he's the host of this pod, but we had to show him. And then, of course, Speak Pickleball being the new guy on the block, I was like, it's time to initiate this kid. Time to initiate him into the group. I'm sorry, but we just beat up on John.
That was kind of brutal. It
was pretty much, Will, I'm sorry you're not getting to touch the ball, and I'm just going to drive every ball as hard as I can at John and hope he makes a mistake. It actually was pretty close at first. I think we got somewhere around like 8-8. We were pretty even, and then after that, we kind of pulled away and I think finished 15-8. But it was a good matchup. I haven't played Will in forever just because we haven't traveled anywhere near Oklahoma. He hasn't been traveling, but it was great to catch up with him and just play some pickleball with him. He's like the most nonchalant good player on the court.
Oh yeah, he's just like, watching him play is the most relaxed, like, I don't care to move or do anything, but great player.
Yeah, we ended up taking out Will and John, and then we moved on to the quarterfinal, which is where we ended up losing to Brent and Farmer. So would have been fun to go further, but honestly, happy with how we played. I don't think it was anything terrible. I think they were just a better team that day, and I just picked a really bad strategy to pick on Farmer's backhand. Honestly, would have been, he even said this, would have been better off going to his forehand than his backhand. So that was kind of a bummer. But all right, we got to talk now. Got to talk about the loser final and the winner final. Actually, before we do that, we should talk about yours.
Oh, yeah.
So you played with Sleeves. I think he's in his 50s.
Like 58.
And his DUPR says like 297. So it's like, oh man, that
was
could
28.
Something below 3.
In the 2s.
Yeah, something below 3. But he ended up playing really well. He was not, I think his DUPR was a little lower than it should have been. Like he when I think of below 3, I think you can barely even hit a dink back. I think you don't even know what a drop is. You barely know how to like keep track of the score. Like,
if you touch the ball, it's not making it over, basically.
Yeah, like the point's not going to last.
It's definitely better than his DUPR.
And you guys had to play some teams that were like pretty decent. Your first team was Bobby from Pickleball Blast and then Matt from Dinking and Driving, who are a completely fine team. Mm-hmm. You guys ended up beating them.
15-10. Or no, sorry. 15-13. It was actually, we got pretty close. We had a huge lead. We were up like 11-4 or something, and then they started coming back. They started making some balls. But yeah, it's a really funny story with him. We're at the hotel, and our hotel was like more like a motel. And it was like a big horseshoe shape, and there's like a little courtyard and a pool there. So a lot of the trip, we're hanging out there talking with each other. First day we get there, we're waiting for people to show up and waiting around. And Sleeve shows up, and he comes over to me, and he just goes, he goes, hey, nice to meet you. And then gets really serious. He goes, all right, don't F this up tomorrow. He's like, you better take as much court as you want and hit every single ball. So he at least knew that like what our strategy was going to be. And he knew that I was going to be taking a lot. And so he was really great attitude, really funny guy. Like, it was a lot of fun. We both had a good time.
He was very funny.
Really funny.
I didn't know much about him before this, but meeting him, like he fit in with the group very well. Like he knew how to banter with everyone. Like very down to earth, chill guy. He was great.
He was a great pick. It was awesome. I had a lot of fun playing with him. But yeah, we ended up. I basically just took as much court as I possibly could and would yell, "Let that ball go!" Like yell no or hit it or whatever. And it was great. We had a few good highlights in that first match. And yeah, honestly, the strategy was just let me take as much as I can and try to hit the ball hard and win some points. So yeah, it was good. It was fun. And then we ended up losing our next round. We ended up losing to David, Tickle My Pickle, and Matt,
who was a bread and butter ambassador.
A local ambassador. We actually had a lead and we're winning, and it was a close match the whole way till the very end, and then we lost 15-10. So a bit of a bummer. I think we should have won that, but it's all good. I had a lot of fun. At least my number one goal was for us to stay out of the toilet bowl and not lose. So we achieved our goal, and it was a win in my book.
And just to clarify for all of you, so how it worked was, this is why I said it was kind of a double elimination, is if you won your first one and then lost your second one, you were done. You didn't go to a back draw after that. But if you lost your first one, that puts you in the running to get to the toilet bowl final. So if you won one, you were cleared from having to go to the toilet bowl.
Yep. So that's all that mattered to me.
Yeah. All right, now let's talk about the loser final and the winner final. So the loser final ended up being Kyle Trenga and JJ Pickleball, which I would not have bet money they were going to, just based on DUPRs, I would not have thought they were making it to the toilet bowl final.
Yeah.
Because they were a pretty balanced team. They were one of those teams that there was no big skill disparity. Even. And then it was Luca Berg from Rackets and Runners and Brian from Building Pickleball.
Yep.
And unfortunately, for Luca and Brian, they ended up taking home the toilet bowl.
Yeah. They ended up winning that one or losing that one.
Yeah. So it was pretty funny to watch that final, but it was very funny getting to know Luca. So for those of you who haven't watched Rackets and Runners before, they're another channel that does reviews, but he also plays tennis and runs another channel where he reviews tennis rackets. So he's split between both. And he plays a lot of pickleball singles, but not necessarily a ton of pickleball doubles, or he also said definitely not a lot of high level doubles for sure. So he was, the whole time throughout the day, he's like, dude, I just don't get it. Everyone is so good at dinking. I don't know what I'm doing out there. Like at the net, like people's volleys are so good. Like I just don't have that mechanic. So he felt very out of his element, but
he's used to playing with like Franklin's or really soft balls, and we're using Vulcans, and he's like, everything's just moving so fast. And so, yeah, he was very out of his element, unfortunately for him.
But yeah, he took it great. I mean, he was a good sport about everything. But yeah, they were the toilet bowl final. So any of you who are curious about who was going to take it, that's who got it.
Not the teams I would have expected. Yeah. Especially Kyle and JJ, but I don't even know. Anything can happen, especially 1 game to 15. I didn't really get to see their match. Kyle and JJ played Braden and Matt first, right? That's who they lost to?
Not first. That's who they played in the toilet bowl on the way to the final.
Yes, that's right. Because
Braden and Matt
lost to Brent and Farmer. Yep. Dang.
Yeah, it was
tough bracket.
It was and I think there was a lot of DUPRs that weren't necessarily representative of people's actual skill level, and some people didn't even have a DUPR, so people didn't really know going in like what it was going to be or whatever. And I think some people overperformed what their DUPR said on paper.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's talk about the winter final.
Yeah.
So the winter final was basically a battle of the two giant carries. So we were talking about earlier, was it better to have a balanced team, or is it better to have a larger skill gap between them? So the final ended up being right side Will and Justin from Pickleball Pursuit, or Pickleball, etc. So we said earlier that Will's probably about a 5'6", a 5'7" DUPR, and then Justin, his DUPR's a 3'3", but he's obviously not a 3'3". Dude is minimum a 4'0".
For sure.
So that I mean, a 9'7", 9'6" combined DUPR team, that's pretty good. And then, funny enough, it was Lewis from Pickleball Pursuit, and then it was his partner, Steven, who's from Pickleheads, who I think his DUPR was around a 5'1" or so.
Yeah, I think it was 5-1.
So basically, what we learned in this tournament is that the best route was to have a heavy carry and then a lower
Around a
DUPR.
4-0.
Yeah, around a 4-0. If you had that, you were pretty good.
Yep.
So it was a very funny final to watch. I think just because Lewis and Justin were playing against each other, host versus co-host, it was kind of
The
perfect.
banter was great. It was a lot of fun to watch. Justin and Will ended up winning it. You know what that means, right?
What's that?
Co-host is just better.
No, I think what we learned in that moment is that right side Will was better than Steven.
Yeah, watching that and then talking to him afterwards, one of Lewis's biggest struggles, and obviously Justin knows this, is just blocking drives. And Will has an incredible drive.
Is elite.
Very high level drive, very good, consistent, hits it hard, and they were just ripping drives. And Justin, he hit probably 5 of the best drives of his life in that game. And so they were just ripping every ball at Justin or at Lewis.
And I think, what was I going to say? Something about the drives. It just completely slipped my mind. Man.
Pace spin.
No, I can't. I don't know. It just completely, I had it and then it just completely left.
We left this out, but keep in mind, so we're in a like pole barn facility of 2 courts. It's Florida, very humid. It was probably in the mid 80s that day, and there was an AC unit going, which helped a ton. But right side Will was in a dress the whole time.
And a wig.
And a wig, because if you've gone and seen his Instagram, he has a costume of Wednesday Addams and plays in it. And Doug was like, could you wear that costume and play in this tournament with it? So he had a wig with pigtails and a dress on in a barn in Florida.
Yeah.
And dude, it was so humid and hot in there. It's the most I've ever sweat.
Yeah, he was a baller for being able to pull that off.
And he kept it on the entire time.
Yeah, he didn't take it off.
Insane. I could not believe he actually did that. So absolute baller.
I remember what I was going to say now. I remember there was so much driving in that match that it was basically like, if a third got hit, the point was probably ending, or maybe there was one more ball after that. But I remember screaming in the middle of the match. I was like, I want to see some dinking. Cut the drives, because it was so many drives.
Every person just wanted to hit a drive.
Yeah.
There was no such thing as dinking in that match.
Yeah,
And honestly, that was kind of the strategy of the whole tournament. If you had a big skill discrepancy on your team, if you're a high level and a low level, like, you just want to end the point in as few shots as possible, because the longer the point goes and the more balls your partner hits, no offense to any of you guys, the higher odds you lose the point. So if you can just take the ball, hit a drive, and win the point, end it quickly. That was the strategy of the whole tournament for everyone, honestly.
And both Lewis and Justin knew that. They were like, just take it. I'll get out of the way.
Neither one of them wanted to hit the ball. It was like, let our partners kind of play singles and target us.
Yeah.
So a lot of fun. Justin and Will ended up winning. Super cool. It was, and they ended up winning. It was the wrestling belt was what their trophy was. So it was pretty awesome.
Now there are only 3 people in the world with a B&B wrestling belt. Me and Will and Justin.
Yep.
Yeah, great event. I think that kind of covers most things I wanted to cover from this, but it was, for all the reviewers, we hadn't met yet. It was great to finally meet everyone. I feel like everyone was great. Like, it was super fun to get to know all these people, play some pickleball with them.
Everyone was super nice.
Yeah, pretty much everyone was exactly what I expected them to be. I think the only person I said that I thought was a little bit different was Matthew K. was more outgoing in person than I thought he would be. I think I thought he would be more shy.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone was awesome. I hope something like this happens again in the future, because it's great seeing all those guys and just getting to hang out.
I mean, getting to meet people we've never met before was awesome. Getting to see them in person, chat, and become friends, and then obviously seeing old friends and hanging out and playing. I mean, such an awesome event. Great idea, and I'm glad it ran super well.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that is the nerdy tourney. We will now move on to some Q&A in the kitchen here. There wasn't a lot happening this week, so thought we would just go here. So, all right, first thing. Does the number of layers of raw carbon fiber affect durability or playability? So, there is not... So, what people call raw carbon fiber, which is like the top sheet, the peel ply is what you're feeling. So, there's not multiple layers of peel ply, but there is multiple layers of raw carbon fiber. Carbon fiber. So let's just say a normal paddle, I'm going to make up a number here, but let's just say most paddles have 3 layers. So one carbon fiber, second carbon fiber, and then the third carbon fiber layer on top is what the peel ply goes on, and the gritty texture you're feeling is on the top layer. It's not on the second layer. It's not on the
actual
bottom layer.
texture on top of a paddle, for those of you who don't know what peel ply is essentially an epoxy that has a fabric sheet laid on top of it, and it mirrors that texture of the fabric and then is pulled off. And that's the actual texture that you're feeling on top of the paddle.
Yeah, so you're not having multiple layers of raw carbon fiber or multiple layers of peel ply. So it wouldn't impact durability because it doesn't exist. But different amounts of carbon fiber layers or fiberglass or whatever can absolutely impact how a paddle feels
100%.
drastically. So yeah, that can definitely, it can affect playability, but durability in terms of the top grit layer.
And there's different types of carbon fiber, which way the direction of the weave is going. There's unidirectional, it can go 90 degree, like there's twill. There's all kinds of different types of carbon fiber, and those all have an effect on how the paddle is played. So there can be one core you can have 2 identical cores, one with 3 layers and one with 4 layers, and that will play different. 3 layers of different directions of carbon fiber, that will play different. You add fiberglass, all kinds of different combinations, and you can make a paddle feel completely different.
Totally. All right, so I thought this one was interesting. I don't know. They didn't really get to expand why they thought this. Maybe it was just a hypothetical, but they said, should USAP and UPA ban paddle modifications that are not grip related? And my thought is absolutely not.
Definitely not. That would be a very, very sad time in pickleball if that ever happened.
I think for many people, especially competitive players, not being able to customize the paddle and make it what fits your style, like it's so... I say this all the time, I feel like, is that you're not going to find a paddle out of the box. You might, for some people, find that it does pretty much everything you need. But being able to customize it allows you to make it whatever you want. If you love heavy paddles, like really heavy paddles, like some of these pros do who have swing weights in like the 130s.
Or me.
They're not making those stock.
No.
I mean, they have a couple times. There's a couple paddles out there, but the vast majority are not. So if, let's say, a pro loves the Franklin C45, well, if they can't add weight to that and make it heavier, that would be a real bummer.
For sure.
But there is kind of caps. You know, UPA now says paddles can't weigh over 10 ounces. USAP still doesn't have anything for that.
I thought it was 11.
Pretty sure it's 10.
10? Okay.
Yeah, pretty sure it's 10. So, yeah, I definitely do not think they should do that.
Yeah, that would be bad. I mean, if you think about it, in other sports, there's no other sport that's similar that doesn't allow you to add your own weighting modifications. If we look at tennis, you're allowed to use lead tape. If you look at golf, you're allowed to use lead tape on your clubs. So I don't see a reason to ban paddle modifications to weighting systems. There's just no reason to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's just better for the industry if people can do that to their paddles.
For sure.
Next one was, can we get an update on the ADV versus the court caddy? So, yeah, this is a good question. I have been using the ADV bag as my full-time bag since I got it. And the main things I would say is that I think the biggest difference to me is the amount of things it can hold. So you can hold more things much more comfortably in the ADV bag, and it's not that much bigger than the kitchen bag. Like, I think overall size, it probably is like maybe in a couple dimensions, like an inch or two bigger. But overall, they're pretty similar. So being able to have a similar profile and hold similar amounts of things, or even more, is great for me. I love that. I think the materials on the ADV, not as nice as the court caddy. But and I said this in my court caddy review, the biggest problem is just how expensive the bag is. Mm-hmm. At $300, it's just like, who are you going to recommend it to? A $300 bag, I mean, I love a good bag. I just bought another travel bag from a company called Nomadic, and it was expensive. So, like, I'm no stranger to expensive bags, but my thought is, at that point, why not just go buy, like, a really nice travel bag for that amount of money and then maybe make it dual purpose for pickleball versus just and the court caddy can be multiple things. And they did have a new update, which I'll give them pretty big credit for, where you can take out the paddle holders, so you have more, and you can take out different amounts of the paddle holders, So you can kind of customize the bag more. You could use it have a deeper pocket for more storage and not have to carry paddles. So the ADV bag could very well be dual purpose and kind of fit what the travel bag does. But right now I'm liking that I can hold more stuff comfortably, and I think the price is a lot more appealing because after a discount code, it's like right around $200, I think. So over $100 cheaper is a huge selling point.
It seems like a lot of Justin, he's been using the ADV bag and traveling with that. I know Braden has been using it, and I'm trying to think who else is.
Lewis, maybe?
Lewis might be, but I don't remember seeing him with one, but it's possible that he was using it. I'm still traveling with the Cork Caddy and making it work. It is definitely a bit tight. My biggest complaint, I love the bag. I've been using it for a long time. Durability's held up great. It has no issues there, except for the zipper tabs had ripped off. But I know they did an update on those and made them a little beefier. But my biggest complaint, and what the ADV bag does well, is I don't like to travel wearing court shoes. I actually hate it, especially on these short trips. I don't want to have to pack a lot of stuff. And so I would like to have a bag where I can just put my shoes in it comfortably and then wear street shoes and not have to be stuck in court shoes for the whole trip, especially on a plane. So I managed to shove and squeeze some court shoes into the Cork Caddy because it comes with a shoe pouch or bag, but I don't really like to have it on the end of the bag, and it can fit a little weird on planes. Like the last plane that we flew on, if I had that shoe pouch on the end, it would not have fit in the overhead bin.
Yeah.
So that's probably my biggest complaint, and the ADV bag has a shoe slot inside of it. So it's just easier to put shoes in it and be done.
Yep.
Because once I put those shoes in, literally nothing else was fitting in that bag. I mean, it was full to the brim, and I might want to take my hoodie off and put it in there. Practically impossible. Even without the shoes, putting any kind of clothing inside of there, if it's packed up, is not happening. So definitely size is a bit trickier for traveling.
Yeah. I think really what it comes down to is the Cork Caddy is a great bag, and especially if you're someone that's probably going to use it a little more dual purpose, you don't carry a ton of pickleball gear, and you're more minimal at tournaments, I think it works really well. It just comes down to, do you want to spend that much money on the bag? And for most people, I would tell them you absolutely don't have to spend that much money to get a great bag.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're fine, if money is not a concern for you, I think it's a great bag.
It'll last forever. I'll tell you that. It's going to last a very long time. Like mine still feels pretty much brand new, and I've had it for a long time, and I kind of beat
getting
on
close
it.
to a year at this point.
Yeah. And
actually, pretty close to a year now.
I mean, I beat on that bag pretty bad. So it's holding up well. I'll give them that.
Yeah. So that's what I think it kind of comes down to. Price is a big factor. The ADV bag, maybe slightly less premium materials, maybe a little bit more flimsy of a bag, but still feels like a great bag, just not quite as high quality. So
yeah, for sure.
Take that for what it's worth to you. I thought this one was a pretty good one, mostly because I hear about this a lot in our local area from people who own facilities.
Locally, this is maybe not a problem, but is a big topic.
Yeah. So should DUPR be used to gate open play groups? I think that facilities should probably offer two different things, and I think some of ours do. Basically, I think you should have a DUPR open play because it does make it more competitive and easier to get the skill level games that you are paying an open play for. If I'm paying for an open play consistently, I want to get good games, right? If I show up for a 4-0 open play, well, I probably don't want a 3-0 in that open play. And then if you get stuck in a bad rotation and you're like, I just feel like I'm not getting good games, like that would be tough, right? And similarly, the lower level player may not want to play a higher level player because it might not be that fun for them, right? So I feel like it can go both ways. Not that there's anything wrong with being a lower level player or anything wrong with being a higher level player. It's not about that. It's just both of those people want good games, and when the skill disparity is that big, it's hard to get good games. So I think what the solution is you have a gated DUPR open play, and then you have something that's more of like a social open play where maybe you say 3-0 to 3-5 open play. It's not DUPR gated. Anyone can kind of show up, and you just know what you're getting into. You know that I'm showing up, I'm playing pickleball, but it is maybe a little less competitive than the DUPR one. Now you just know which one you got to go to and which one you might fit into better.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I think.
I agree. I really think that there should just be separate open plays. One for more social, chatting, having fun, not really taking things too seriously, more just like meet up with people. And then more competitive, and DUPR, I think, very heavily needs to restrict it. And it's different for locations, and I mean like for different states. Obviously, Minnesota's a bit different because we have a ton of players, a lot of high-level players. We get such a mix. Recently, there's a facility here that has like a 5-0 open play. They restricted the DUPR to, I want to say, 4-8 or something, or 4-7, and there was too many people getting in that either just have inflated DUPRs or they've played like 2 DUPR matches and got a really high DUPR and they were able to register. And then it just, people were complaining about it. It was making games not very competitive. And especially when you get into the higher level players, 5-0 plus, all these guys are looking for, speaking as one, in terms of going to an open play like that, is just competitive games. Like when I go specifically to a 5-0 open play or a competitive open play, all I'm looking for are serious competitive games. I'm not there to just chat around and have fun. Like I will do that with people, but I just want serious games. And if there are certain people getting in that are either inflated or just not that level, it kind of ruins it for the whole group. And you don't want to be that guy who's just specifically avoiding people, because then you're kind of a jerk. So then they raised it to like 4-9, and it was still, people were kind of working their way in and not quite that level. So it's very difficult.
Yeah,
but I
sure.
do think DUPR, because if it was just open and anyone could sign up, well, what if like a 3-5 you signed up for the 5 open play? You know, that would be not great for either side.
Yeah.
So
you weren't supposed to tell them that I'm the one that came to the open play and ruined it for everyone.
It's tough. It's difficult to make it work. But even worse, even better example is there was a 5-0 league that you and I both played in, and they set the first list of people that I got sent when they said, hey, we want to do this. I looked at it, I was like, wow, that's a great list of people. Literally all 5-0 or maybe just under 5-0 to like 6-0, some pros here. And then once it actually happened, they let in a lot more people, and it was real bad. I mean, there were some actual just 4-0s in there. And like if you were not on the top 1 or maybe 2 courts, the skill level dropped off so fast that it just kind of ruined the whole thing. And so because of that, all the high level players saw that the skill level was not great. It kind of ruined the reputation of that league there. And now a lot of these guys just don't want to do it anymore, because they're like, well, if this is going to be the level of play, I just don't want to, like, some guys are driving 45, 50 minutes and it's late at night on a Sunday. People's time is valuable. They don't want to be wasting their time. So it is difficult, but I do think it's very important to have these open plays restricted.
Well, and I think what also makes it tricky is that you'll have people, this is where I think it gets really tricky, because I've seen this happen multiple times, is you'll have people whose DUPR is not high enough. Let's just say the cutoff was 4-5 for a 5-0 open play or something. You have the cutoff at 4-5, and there will be people who people know that have just a bad DUPR. They're way, way, way below their DUPR. Maybe they just don't play tournaments, and then that facility makes an exception for them because they know they're better. But then you have another guy who goes, no, I swear, like I might be a 4-3, but I can ball with 5-0s. Like, let me in. So when you start making these exceptions, it starts like, I think it's best when it is probably enforced much more strictly. And maybe you can go based off some tournament results. If you have a guy with a low DUPR, but he just won a 5-0 PPA or something, he's probably legit, right? But I think that is what makes things really tough, is people make these exceptions, and then people hear about these exceptions, and they're like, well, I should be in the exception too, and then feelings get hurt. Like, it's very hard. I don't envy any of these facility owners or people who work at these who have to try and make these decisions.
100%.
Because you're not going to make anyone happy. You're going to have people who are on the higher end of the spectrum and go, I don't want to play with these people, and then people who are just slightly outside of the range that go, I should be in that, let me in. Mm-hmm. So it's a really tough balance. But yeah, that's what I think people should do.
Good question.
Next one was, do we think full foam cores are better than polymer so far? I think...
In what terms?
Wow, right. Probably just, let's just say performance for now. Yep. I think that in the long term, I think foam has a significant amount of upside, and we're probably, just scraping the surface of what we're going to figure out can be done with foam. Some people are doing full slabs of foam. Some people are doing things that are more like what we saw with polymer cores, where it was like a Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, and now they're experimenting with different ways to do the
true
foam.
foam, where they're cutting things in it, doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways that I think it can be approached. And since we're in the early stages, I would say right now, no, foam cores are not definitively better than polymer cores. I think there are polymer core paddles that still have a lot of upside.
But they're also definitely not far behind.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that give it another year, I wouldn't be surprised if most of the top paddles were foam cores, or, even 2 years. I think at that point, it'll probably be very convincingly foam if it's not a different material.
Mm-hmm.
So durability seems better.
I was going to say, in terms of durability, from the companies that have made full foam paddles and done it well, durability is exceptionally good. You've still been using your True Foam Genesis 2 for 6 months now, and it's still the same unit. I mean, when was the last time we ever saw a paddle do that?
Yeah, right.
Never.
Yeah.
I mean, I can look at every paddle on this wall and I can't see a single one, except for maybe some of these, Gen 1s that will last more than 6 months.
Yeah.
It just doesn't exist. Now, we have seen durability issues with some of them, like the 008, and I'm trying to think there's one.
Well, and some people have had issues with their True Foams. It's not perfect.
Not perfect by any means. The only issue that we're seeing is like actual, in the true sense of the word, delamination or disbonding, where the face is separating from the core because of glue issues. We've seen more of that with the 008, a lot less with the True Foam. And I think the types of glue that's being used will get figured out. I do think in terms of durability, it far exceeds polymer core paddles.
Well, and I think also what people need to understand is that it's less about this paddle it is impossible for it to have an issue, and it's like the rate at what it's happening, right? If I'm going to make up numbers here just for the sake of the argument, but if 75 out of 100 Gen 3 paddles are breaking at some point, and then you have a foam core paddle and it's 5 out of every 100, that rate is significantly better. So it's far more durable, but yes, you may still have some disbonding. You might still have a handle snap or something goes wrong. No, you're not going to find anything on this planet that just literally lasts forever and doesn't ever break down, especially when we're taking it and smacking it thousands of times a week on a court. And some people are hitting their legs. Some people are throwing it. Like, things will just break.
Yeah. No matter what material you use, there's going to be some form of degradation and there's going to be issues. So it's a very difficult problem to solve, but full foam cores have done a pretty good job at that. I think performance-wise, they're keeping up pretty well, but there are some issues. Like, we're never going to get to have full foam paddles feel exactly like polymer core paddles. There are a lot of people who like that feel, me being one of them. And if you want more plush feel, the paddle gets extremely soft / heavy with full foam. And like the Genesis, you start adding fiberglass, like a fiberglass patch, you make it thinner. It starts feeling a bit more stiff and tingy and not as much plow. There's issues with it. So we haven't quite seen the best version of it yet, but I think we're on the right track. I do like seeing the evolution of full foam core paddles.
Yeah, for sure. And it'll continue to develop and get pretty good. All right, next one was, how does the Metalbone compete with the Ripple? Are they not more or less the same? So while the designs, there is overlap in the design where, it's an EVA foam core. It's got the same carbon fiber strips going up and down the paddle vertically. The Rhombus does do things differently. It has the carbon fiber grid that wraps everything around it, and I imagine there's some other little nuances that are different, but no, they do not play the same.
Very, very different.
I would take, as much as, the Ripple has gotten dogged on in certain ways for being heavy and whatever, I would take a Ripple every single day of the week over that Metalbone. Not because the Metalbone is just the worst thing in the world. It's not like the last Metalbone where it feels like it's unplayable. It's just that the Ripple's overall playability is a lot better.
A lot better.
The stability, even with the tighter sweet spot that it has compared to the Beta, much higher than the Ripple. The power is more consistent. Like, the feel is nicer. They're both rockets, can be rockets, but the Ripple's overall playability is better.
Let me give you a hypothetical. I'm curious.
Okay.
If you cannot add weight modification unless it is a Ripple or a Metalbone with the weighting system. It's all you can use to adjust it. You either have to play with the heaviest R1 Ripple, like 128 swing weight, or you can have a Metalbone at like 108 swing weight. Which one? And the playability doesn't change, like how it feels, what we've hit, but the swing weight is 107. What are you picking?
I'll take the Ripple and hit the gym.
We've got him. We finally got him on the heavy swing weight train.
Yeah, I think the overall playability is a lot nicer on the Ripple. And I think having, the biggest thing, if you really want to compare them, is having full certification for everything is a big deal.
Well, that is a pretty big deal. And even though I would say the Ripple sweet spot is not the best, it far exceeds what the Metalbone sweet spot is.
Yeah.
Which is just crazy to me.
Yeah. So there's definitely differences. While they're built similar, there's for sure, first of all, the Ripple is not edgeless. The Metalbone is edgeless. Like that alone is, going to make things feel pretty different.
For sure.
Yeah, that's how I would answer that. Next one, I didn't know exactly what context they were talking about in this, but I thought it was an interesting question, which was how to handle toxic pickleball groups. And my suggestion would
don't play with them.
Yeah, don't play with them.
Yeah. Now depending, I know some areas, let's just take Justin, for example, in Waco, Texas, there really isn't groups. There is no plural there. It is a group of people. I think he's told us multiple times that the highest level player in their group is about a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Maybe a little higher. And so at that point, you really don't have many options. But if you have multiple groups and different people to play with, different facilities, yeah, I would highly recommend just going somewhere else and playing with different people as best you can. Stay away from toxic people in general, I'd say, but especially in pickleball, just keep it, like we've said multiple times, try to keep it fun.
Yeah. It's not worth it.
It's really not worth it.
And, if this person is limited in groups, I guess it just depends in the way that they're being toxic, right? Are they being toxic to each other within the group?
Are they just angry, upset people when they play bad?
Yeah, like there's...
What levels are we talking about? Because some things are more tolerable than others.
Yeah, and what people are doing. So I think it's a tricky question to answer without more nuance, but my first thought would be, yeah, just don't play in the group. And then if that is your only option, assuming they are not being toxic specifically to you, there may be things that are more tolerable. Like I could get over someone being upset with themselves and kind of throwing a tantrum. That's really annoying and I don't like it. But that is a lot better than if someone is being extremely rude to me every single time I play.
Yeah. If someone's being a jerk specifically to you, making comments, doing something to you, whatever, that's just not acceptable. You should not play with them. You should definitely leave. But if they're just being upset kind of in their own realm, yeah, it's frustrating, can be annoying, but I can deal with that.
Yeah. So tricky to answer, but maybe if you have more nuance, you can shoot me a DM on that.
Yeah.
But last question is, have we hit peak paddle development? So basically they were saying we're about to cap out on spin with these new RPM tests. They have a power test we're, supposedly going to cap out on. At that point, what other things can these manufacturers change? And I think we're, probably closer than we've ever been, but I remember when this same question was posed when thermoformed paddles came out and they were so good, everyone was like, we can't possibly get better than this. This is as good as it gets. Now we've got Gen 3 paddles. We've got these full foam core paddles. It has continued to evolve to a point where the Gen 2 paddles are still viewed as good, but there are better alternatives. And I think what you're going to start seeing now is less focus on, let's just keep making it more and more powerful. And now things that make the user experience better. Maybe the handles are better. Maybe the longevity of the paddle is better. Maybe the feel and sweet spot of the paddle becomes better. Swing weights, the balance of it. All these different things that also impact playability that aren't just raw power or raw control is what I think we'll start seeing things move towards. Or maybe more systems in the paddle that you can customize it in some way, kind of like the Metalbone, but maybe something a little more nuanced. Mm-hmm. I think there's still a lot that can be done for paddles. You're just not going to see paddles hit that much harder.
I still believe that there's a lot of materials have yet to be explored in pickleball. There's so many new, different core materials, edge guard materials, different face materials, things that we haven't even, can't even think of yet that will be used eventually. And yeah, it'll be the same things like when thermoforming came out. We were like, wow, this is insane. If I had to guess, I would give it another 3 to 5 years till we cap out. I think in
that was going to be my guess.
3 to 5 years is when we'll hit the peak paddle technology and we'll have durability figured out. I think by then we'll have better regulations on paddles. and we're not going to have things like the mod or the Gearbox Pro Power Elongated and things like that are getting banned and we're having issues. I think things will always change. Paddle development will change. Rules will change. Stuff will be constantly adjusted. I mean, baseball's been around for hundreds of years. It's still having rules change. But I think we'll have a lot better grasp on it and we'll be a lot less controversial with equipment in 3 to 5 years.
Here's what we're going to do. Hang on. Remind me in 3 years to see if we've hit peak paddle development and then talk about it on the podcast.
I love it when this guy does this. He has probably 100 different reminders in his phone for like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years in the future for all kinds of random things that are just going to start popping up. So yeah, 3 years from now, we're going to be like episode 300 or something ridiculous. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'm very curious to say. I think hopefully we're still doing the podcast and still doing pickleball in 3 years, but that'll be a fun reminder to have pop up and see.
What in pickleball paddles, like what is the number one thing you would like to see adjusted or changed? I kind of already know your answer, but like if you could pick one aspect of a paddle and just like figure it out.
I think it's going to be durability for me, because I just think it's like when you think about paddles right now, it is such a silly thing to think that you're going to spend $300 and in a month you might have to warranty it. Look, I don't expect these things to be indestructible. Absolutely not. But either you need to have a system like Reload where you can refresh the grit on demand, and every company needs to have that available, not just one company, so that the industry as a whole can benefit from it. So, okay, if we have something like that, kind of like tennis strings, okay, well, now your frame needs to be more durable. So in the context of that for us, it would be the core or the rest of the body of the paddle needs to be more durable. And, hopefully these sheets aren't making things too heavy. I don't think that's been fully figured out yet. But it's just so silly to spend $300 and either your grit wears down and you want to replace it, or your core breaks and now you're sending in a warranty. I mean, if you look at tennis, I cannot imagine their warranty rate is anywhere near what it is in pickleball.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Especially at the higher level. I'm sure they're the highest of levels. I'm sure frames still get swapped out and stuff at some point, but in pickleball, it's just crazy that how normal warranties are right now.
Definitely, if we could just like fix durability across the board, that'd be great. But also, we just like unify handles across every company.
Well, that would be nice too.
Good handles, good butt caps, good shit. Like, I hate handles right now. Some companies got it figured out. A lot of companies don't. That's one that I would love to just have uniform across all brands. Is the handle.
For sure. To me, it feels like such low-hanging fruit. That's not even a durability. That's actually a hard one to solve.
Exactly. That one that
handles doesn't feel that hard to solve.
Actual engineering, a lot of time, development, fixing it. Handles is something that I think every company at the moment could spend a little bit of time and have it completely fixed at this point.
Yeah.
Or at least reasonable.
Yeah.
And it's just not there.
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
Especially for some paddles that cost $250+ I think that's ridiculous. For any company listening to this, if you are going to charge $250 or even $200 or more, please have a good handle. No more foam.
Yeah, carbon.
Yeah, that
Ripple.
said it. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my big gripe with paddle development right now.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's what we got for the pod this week. Hope you guys enjoyed. I know there wasn't a lot of heavy paddle discussion on this one, and there potentially might not even be a pod next week because I leave next Monday, which is also my birthday. But I leave early, and then I actually don't know how much pickleball I'll get to play this week. So just I guess for an update for those of you who care, my back was killing me after getting back from this bread and butter tournament. I knew when I was there, I was pushing it too much. I played way too many games.
You played a lot.
I played singles, which of all things I know I shouldn't be playing right now. So I overdid it. And when I got home, I definitely paid the price for it. So this week is going to be a little bit slower in terms of testing paddles, which might limit how much I could talk about on the pod next week and then, leaving. So there may or may not be a pod next week. We'll see. We're going to try and get some stuff done, but it might be a little bit difficult. I'm kind of at a point with my back where, and many of you actually mentioned this, that you were like, oh, it could be a herniated disc, which I had thought for a while that it could be, and I just kind of ruled it out as my back has been getting better. But all of the way my back feels when it hurts points to a herniated disc, so I'm probably going to try and get an MRI at some point and get that checked out. But yeah, if it is a herniated disc, it's going to be a probably not super fun recovery and is going to slow my pickleball down a little bit.
Yeah, that would not be great. Also, before you leave your trip, Minnesota has decided to just not cooperate with us, and the rain hates us. Minnesota hates us, and the court is still not done. Still has a pretty decent amount of work left to be done.
I think it's not done until I'm back from China.
Oh, 100%. At this point, as much as I hate to say it, it's definitely not getting done until you're back. Yeah. And so, unfortunately, that is slowing us down quite a bit. And yeah, so we'll see where things go. But once you get back from China, I'm sure you're gonna have a lot to talk about. Yeah, that'll be a long pod. I'm excited. Yeah. It's gonna be good.
Totally. So. Cool. All right. Thanks for listening, guys. We will see you later.
Peace.